Sarat just recently got a wide release in the US, and even though I actually saw it way back in October, it's such an interesting film to talk about that I simply have to tell you about it. So let's unpack Sirāt. Sirāt is directed by Oliver Lax, and it follows a man and his son as they arrive at a rave lost deep in the mountains of Morocco, searching for their daughter and sister who disappeared months ago. And that's all you need to know. Don't look up anything else, and I won't be breaking down the plot in this video either. This is absolutely the kind of film you should go into as blind as possible. It's an experiential movie, and knowing too much in advance could genuinely rob you of some of its most essential qualities. And trust me, you don't want to miss out on them, because this is an incredibly hypnotic and completely immersive experience. From its very first minutes, the film slowly absorbs you with these heavy, patient shots, and if you surrender to its rhythm, it won't let you go. The atmosphere here is truly one of a kind. You genuinely feel like you're wandering through the endless barren wasteland, the hostile environment, the discomfort, the sheer emptiness. It feels like hell at the edge of the world. And yet for some people, this place might be the only escape, the only space where freedom is still possible. There have been audience theories about what exact time period this film takes place in or what geopolitical context surrounds it, but honestly, I think its timelessness, its refusal to specify, is one of the film's greatest strengths. Because for these people, in these conditions, in this place, nothing exists except the present moment and their own subjective sliver of lived reality. And as powerful as the setting is, what shapes the atmosphere even more is the score. Oh man, it's not something I would ever listen to on my own. It's techno rave music, made for dancing, not for listening. That's even a line that one character says. But the way it works inside this film, the way it almost hypnotizes the viewer, is phenomenal. Completely overwhelming in the best way, one of the most distinctive scores of this year. It's just extremely impressive. And the sound design deserves just as much praise. The half-broken engines, the speakers, dog barking, all contrasted with the absolute silence of the desert, it genuinely transports you there. The casting and performances are also fantastic. Everyone feels so authentic, you believe these people completely, and you never once think of them as actors performing. I honestly can't imagine this film working as some bigger Hollywood production with recognizable names. This story just needs a certain mystery around its main characters. You can tell that they have lived through so much, but you don't fully know why, and that intrigue would absolutely be weakened by familiar faces in the main roles. At its simplest, Sirāt is a road movie, and it really is a simple film, which is both its greatest strength and its greatest weakness, because the film can only give you as much as you're willing to bring into it yourself. If you don't tune in into its tempo and rhythm, it might feel empty, like a film that's just trying to shock you stylishly while ultimately being about nothing. But if you do tune in, if you're satisfied with storytelling through small gestures, unspoken emotions, and pure naturalistic human experience, then you'll be completely captivated. Even a brief shot of a television can suddenly feel loaded with meaning. Whether it's raw emotion or even mythological subtext, Sirāt has more themes than people give it credit for. But it's a thin line that films like this walk, and ultimately it depends on which side the viewer falls on. But the film does have a kind of emptiness to it. It's deeply experiential, as I already mentioned, and I completely understand people who say it didn't do anything for them. But in my opinion, the film is smart enough to thematize that emptiness. It isn't an empty film, it's a film about emptiness, about the void that consumes you, but it might also transform you, about facing things that simply cannot be undone. The everyday meaning of the word Sarat translates as path or way, a path with two dimensions, physical and metaphysical, spiritual. The inner path that pushes you to die before you die. It's also the name of the bridge set to connect hell and paradise. As I already said, this film walks a thin line not only with its pacing but even with its themes. Maybe that sounds a bit pretentious or even obvious, but combined with the environment and the music, it becomes almost cleansing, and it really is helpful for understanding the movie and its intentions. And even though the film is on paper a very straightforward road movie, that doesn't mean it doesn't have some twists and turns, and oh man, Sirāt in its key moments truly shocks you. It catches you completely unprepared in a way I honestly don't experience very often anymore. There were moments where I was genuinely stunned, thinking there is no way that they're actually going to go there, but they do, and it's really intense. And those moments to me prove Oliver Lax's directional mastery. The way he slowly builds stress, overwhelms you, plants unease in your mind, and then completely knocks you over. It's kind of unbelievable. That said, this film isn't a flawless experience for me, even though it might have sounded like that. For such a slow, demanding, non-traditional film, I do have to admit that I sometimes wish there was more to chew on. It's not hollow or meaningless by any means. I spent a whole video making the case for it being meaningful, but I just wanted more. It isn't the kind of movie that you'll be rewatching over the years, finding new meanings in it, and that in itself isn't a flaw, and I still love the film, but in some instances I would prefer if it had more meat on its bones. At times it just becomes numbing. You fall into a kind of limbo where you're no longer fully processing everything, and occasionally it flirts with feeling a bit self-indulgent, which is kind of crazy given the events of the film. It just goes a bit too far in my opinion, or maybe it's exactly how it should be, but those are highly subjective qualities. At its core, Sirāt is an incredibly bold and singular vision, capturing inner emptiness, escapism, and the desire to run not just from the world, but from yourself, in a truly special and powerful way. And I haven't even touched on the way the film explores music as a coping mechanism, which is another extremely strong theme. For a while I was even thinking that it was the main theme, but after the conclusion I'm not sure the film completely stuck the landing with that one. But still, it's just a really fascinating movie that I would recommend to every cinephile there is. And that's all I got. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and once again, I would really appreciate if you liked and subscribed. It would genuinely help me out a ton. And yeah, that's it, and I'll see you in the next video.